Okay, so your last self-titled album took 5 months in the studio compared to 5 days for your previous albums. What was, like, why did it take so long?
Some of it was scheduling. I mean, we weren't in the studio for 5 months. I mean, it was recorded over periods of time for 5 months. Another thing is I work with a producer, which was really cool. You know, like, so it goes back to collaboration kind of thing where, you know, you're working with someone, so you rather than before with the other albums, 3 ones I've done, I produced it myself, so I just went in there and did it. And I didn't really, no one was like, what about this or that? This time it was kind of like, you sit down with someone, you talk about the songs, you go over them, you see where can we make this, enhance this, make this better, you should work on this area, it's not so strong. Getting feedback, and which was really cool because it kind of pushed me and made me realize, wow, you know, there's something I do a lot that I didn't realize that I could really work on and stuff like that. And then the other side of it was we had a bigger budget than before, where it's like, the only reason why it took 5 days to do the other albums is because I could only afford to be in the studio for 5 days. So, I mean, I'm sure they probably, if I had a little bit more money, it probably would have taken a little bit longer, but it's kind of like, you know, survival of what you got, you know, so I did with what I could, and I think I did a good job. This time it was like we had more, bigger budget, and we could kind of, you know, go through things and figure out, you know, is this the guitar we use on this song, or there's 20 guitars there, let's figure out which one makes sense. So long story short, it was completely different and a really good learning curve for me. I think the next one I do, I'll probably kind of take what I've learned from this one and then take what I've learned in the past and kind of put them together and probably make it a shorter process, but still have those elements of, you know, of working with someone, or, you know, having a little bit more time than 5 days. So it was cool. It was good. Every album should be a new journey, you know, like a lot of bands just do the same thing every time and they work with the same people and they kind of have the same album every time, which is totally good and totally fine. For me, the kind of music that I do and the path that I want to choose to do is I want to keep doing some things that are different so that it's interesting for me, but also for the audience, so that they kind of know what they're getting, but they also get surprised sometimes. Yeah.
So while on the road, many artists say it's stressful being away from family and friends and loved ones. How do you deal with this stress?
Well, one amazing thing which I found also difficult to use is Skype video. I used that. My family was together on Sunday, and it was like a big family. I've come from a really big family and like a really big loving family, and we see each other all the time. Like every week, like I hang with my brothers and my sisters in town. They all live really close to me, and my fiance and stuff. So it was really cool seeing them all on video, but it was also equally frustrating because there was like a 3-second delay. And we talked for about 40 minutes. It was pretty demanding because it was like there was 25 people I talked to in 40 minutes. And then after, I was laying on bed talking to the guys. We were just chilling in the hotel room, and we were talking. I was like waiting for the delay to happen because I got so used to the delay. I was like, this is weird. Like, you're actually talking to me. But I mean, like I said, Skype is such a cool way that you can see people. But that really helps me, you know, being able to see people's faces and communication, emails, you know, things that people didn't have, you know, 20 years ago, you know, when people were on the road. You hear about those bands in the 60s and 70s where the tour driver had to find a payphone in town to figure out, and they use maps, like they don't have GPSs, like it was just like, wow. And then another thing that, you know, that I've been trying to bring more into my life is exercise. Like we were talking about that, you know, like I think that's just a good way of not even just dealing with stress, but just spending some time. And you know, I'm not like a full-on like into just going to the gym and stuff like that, but being active and stuff like that, you know, because in my profession, it's like you're in bars every night, stuff like that, and it can be fun. But like when I'm home, I'm not going to the bar really ever. I don't really go. I'm not like I don't know. I used to, but I don't do that anymore. So it's kind of like finding those spaces to keep yourself sane. So. I mean, there's so many things that you can do to go wrong. There's so many things out there that you can do to go right, that as long as you're surrounding yourself with good people, no matter what the situation, you know, hopefully you come out on top. I've got good people with me right now, so it's good.
The lyrics in your recently released song pilgrimage, sorry, paints a graphic picture with the lines, "You'll move it when the guns keep firm, and the sound of sirens will prove you're shaking in your boots." What's this song about?
It really delves into the whole gang violence thing that was going on. It still does go on in my hometown of Vancouver and the lower mainland of British Columbia. It became like pretty, national and international news at like the rate of, how many people are dying from gang activity, and like, British Columbia, specifically Vancouver area, is a real hot spot for drugs and like the exportation of drugs and gang life. That it's so high there that it's just common day life. It's not like I live in like a bad hood or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying that, but like every day there's shootings like in the city. Like right in front of grocery stores, and it was getting to a point where it was just so massive that like internationally they were talking about it, and just it was such an epidemic, and a lot of it had to do with drugs and gangs. So I don't know, I was in the studio, I had the song, it was called Pilgrimage, and I had all the music, and had all the melodies, and I kind of had the Take Me on a Pilgrimage part. And I was kind of like thinking about like, escaping something. I didn't really know what, and again, this is a cool part of working with someone, collaborating and working with a producer. Said, well, what are you trying to say here? And I don't know, I wasn't really sure. So kind of thought about it and thought maybe this is something I could write about, touch on. It's from my own hometown, and I don't really know anyone else that's singing about it. And so I just kind of wrote down some lyrics and things that made sense to me. And just really the whole idea of the song is question why, these things have to happen, and more of an awareness of like that this is happening, and hopefully educating people, or I'm really so much of education of more of like just bring awareness of like this doesn't need to happen, this is going on, it shouldn't. What can we do, and what can we do so that kids and stuff aren't pulled into this, because that's a lot of the way that they were pulling people into it, was going to the high schools and stuff and sucking these kids into it, which was terrible. So I don't know, it was just kind of one of those songs that just kind of happened. But for me, a lot of my material is more of earthy, kind of like happy, good time kind of stuff. And I don't know, it was one of those songs that just kind of happened, and I'm really happy with it. And it kind of opened my eyes, being like, whoa, lyrically, like I can come up with stuff that, issues that are important, that, bring awareness to things. So that's something that I'm kind of working on now, even more than I have in the past, is like working with, issues that people can talk about, that affect people.